Good evening. You know what time it is? Time for Susan to read another story about tragedy and loss and long suffering. And how can this woman do this every day? How could she be at the care center every day? How could she have put up with life? Comes at you. Here we go. I've been thinking about this for about an hour. We were on going to be on chapter 6, and I'm going to read the whole chapter. But I know some of you are thinking, how can this woman do this? All she does is really talk about loss and grief and sadness. No, it's just the opposite. I'm just telling stories. But I'm talking about telling stories that are about courage and faith and hope and love. You're just misinterpreting it because you're not where I am. And you didn't lose somebody like I did with a long-term illness. And so I'm just handling things differently. Plus, I'm a writer who likes to tell stories, and I like to tell stories that are real. I'm a real-life person who likes to tell real-life stories. There's going to be a story in here about a woman who finally, after decades and decades, converted to Catholicism, and I witnessed it. There's a man who I sat with on Friday nights on the Shabbat, and we watched services on his little TV or on his little something, and we watched for several Friday nights. And he envied those who believed. There was the son who showed up at the last minute that his father was passing because he didn't love his father at all. In fact, he hated him, but he out of respect. And then there's the wife who feels like her husband won't eat, and it's her fault. I got such great stories yet to go. So if you think that these stories are about sadness, yeah. You went through COVID? Yeah, I think you got some sad stuff there. You got some other issues that you're dealing with? Oh, yeah, not a problem. We are all dealing with stuff. Here's a breast cancer survivor for 15 years. And then she decided to take every day and love it. 15 years, but she loved every single day of it. I've got such great stories to tell you yet. So if you think that this book, my Hospice Heart Stories book, and my book, my Committed to Love book, are about sadness and pain and suffering, well, some of that's life, for real. You're gonna have some issues. My book, Committed to Love, everything I write in hospice, I think that's why I was able to write these stories, because I did go through everything that you will face if you're dealing with a long-term illness or grief or loss and you don't want to deal with it. You will deal with it. You will move on. It's just that song from Titanic, but my heart will go on and on. Your heart will move until God says one day it's not going to move. If not, people survive. People want to live. That's the end of my sermonette. And I'm wearing this today in honor of my dear neighbor, Rita Gelman, who passed with hospice help. She transitioned at the care center in February, and her family, we were very close, and her daughter made all these wonderful scarves. And today, with the weather being so lousy, I just wanted to pay homage to the Gelman family, because there's so many siblings and cousins and great-grandchildren and everybody. This chapter will pertain to everybody out there anyway, but I just wanted to wear this because I loved Rita. This subject will get through. Don't deal with him. Deal with what I'm going to say next. Chapter 6. Oh, and I got the full half hour. You're going to get it. Thank you all. New people coming on at different times, different days, different weeks, different months, because I'm going back and I still check out all of you. Chapter 6. After his tragic year, oh, here she goes again with the tragedy. After a tragic year, his son questions whether he will ever have fun, laugh, or feel alive again. I did that. I did that for a really long time. If you haven't questioned it, you will one day. Will you ever have fun, laugh, or feel alive again? You will. Quote, if I have to ask myself if I'm having fun, then I guess I'm not having any. That's it, folks. If you have to ask, am I having a good time? Am I having fun? Chances are you're not. November. See, I seem to be giving one of these stories every month. It was September 98, October, November. Now we're November 98. I don't remember this part. Yeah, December. So I must have written one story a month, and then I've put it all together. Marvelous to write right. Wait to hear this one. Take your Xanax and get your tissues out. Dear Jeff, I don't know if I am afraid to die. That's a great way to start off with people you don't know. The only way I'll know is when it happens. I wish I could hear your sweet voice and tender words of support and encouragement now. Just a quick, yes, Hospice Heart sunglasses. Now, let me do this because I got to read this chapter and I really don't want to mess it up. I wish I could hear your sweet voice and tender words of support and encouragement now. I am afraid, and I need you to tell me that I'll be all right. Last week, a routine procedure indicated that I have a golf ball-sized mass protruding into my stomach. The doctors are trying to determine if it is benign or malignant. Remember, I was over 48. Can you believe it? Well, no, I was older. He died. I was 48, so I was, 52? Yeah, 4 years later. Who knows? Could have been a year later, 2 years later, but this is when I documented this stuff and transposed it. Don't deal with the dates anymore. I'm so confused with them. Last week, I had a golf ball-sized mass protruding into my stomach. The doctors are trying to determine if it is benign or malignant. Can you believe it? I will know next week if my condition warrants surgery. If it does, it will be serious. It is important for me to start writing my feelings down again, as I've told many friends about my condition, but I have to express my fears and concerns on paper. Write! My writing has always been my therapy, and now I am even more thankful for it. My thoughts are frightening, and I cannot keep them locked up inside me. I'll kill you. You want to turn to drugs and opioids and addictions and all this other stuff and antidepressants? Keep it locked up. Fine, I didn't. I got through it all with writing. My thoughts are frightening, and I cannot keep them locked up inside. My words enable me to share this terribly difficult time with you. Diaries. I've tried not to dwell on it, but I am keeping busy. I know in my heart I have the very best doctors taking care of me. I tell myself there is nothing seriously wrong. But the doctors will know if they have to operate on me next week. However, I fear that they will, and I am frightened. So I make sure I do this one. This is happening. For 25 years, Jeffrey, you helped me through the roughest times in my life. No matter what the situation, you always knew what I needed and what to do. When I was ill, you were the one I trusted to take care of me. You babied me when I needed to be babied, and you nursed me when I needed to be nursed. You were always supposed to be there for me. I need you more than ever. I need my best friend's positive attitude and strength. I need you to give me hope and send me a sign telling me that I will be all right. You were the one that taught me to live each day as if it were my last. From the time we met, you always said, quote, life is too short and time is too precious. Don't look back and never waste time, end quote. How did you live with that possibility that you might become HIV positive? It had to be horrible knowing that every time you had something physically wrong, the first thing that came into your mind was the thought of AIDS. Because he did not get tested. AIDS started in 81, but he just continued to be promiscuous. He would not get tested. And the whole book about celibacy and all the diagnoses, it's all in the book Committed to Love. Susan Min Stockholm. So every time, when we heard about AIDS, every time you had a cough or there was something wrong, you always think, well, is that it? Whenever you were ill with a cold or ache or a pain, you worried or feared for your life. When you were diagnosed with pneumonia, it was your courage and strength that inspired me, thus enabling me to go on. You kept me going when I wanted to give up. After you passed away, there were times when I didn't think I would ever feel alive again. That's why this chapter is going to be important for many of you, because I went through it. There were months and months and years that I didn't know if I'd ever feel alive again. But then there's a chapter in my book about laughing through the tears. My book, Committed to Love, has every issue and emotion that God ever gave you. The question is, are you going to feel them? Are you going to deal with them? Are you going to confront them? Right. I was in shock, numb, and raw. I was dead inside, with an empty heart beating, grieving, and crying out in despair. I felt nothing, yet I was aware of everything. I tried to focus on the beautiful memories of the life we once shared, but the torment I felt was unbearable. It hurt too badly to think about the past. Would I ever laugh again? I asked myself. Would I ever feel happiness and joy? How could I ever love again, love life again, when I hated it so much? How could I have been born into this cruel and unjust world? I believed that heartache and sorrow would be a permanent part of my life. And last night at the care center, I met a man who was asking himself the same questions I once asked. As I listened to his story, I understood all too well his feelings and helplessness and despair. See, I do people. That's my gift that the good Lord gave me. I do people. Oh, wait to hear this one. It was a cold autumn night and I didn't want to go out. However, I knew that I'd feel better once I was there. Feeling needed by helping other people always took my mind off of my own problems. Yeah, get out of yourself and start giving to the homeless. Give to the soup kitchens. Get out of yourself. You saw people are so consumed today with themselves. Sad. That's sad. Feeling helpless always took, feeling needed by helping others always took my mind off my own problems. When I saw the patients and their families coping with the most difficult times of their lives, their strength and courage renewed my faith and gave me hope. And the never-ending positive attitude and support from my friends always helped to lessen my fears. I checked in at the center, got my ice bucket, and started delivering water to the patients. I knocked on the door several times, but no one answered. I was going to leave when I heard a man's voice telling me to come in. There go the chills. I'm doing what I was supposed to do. I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. And God is telling me that by chilling me. I walked over to the bed and said, "Hello, my name is Susan. I'm a volunteer. May I get you something?" End quote. He did not respond to my question and stared at me as if he hadn't heard a word I said. Wait, hang in, kids. We're good. He didn't respond to my question and stared at me as if he hadn't heard a word I said. I repeated myself, stating that I would be on call tonight if he needed anything. He had a dazed, trance-like look on his face that was void of any emotion. He appeared unaware of everything, and I wasn't sure what to do next. I said, quote, "Would you like to have a cup of coffee with me? It's good to take a break. It's good to get up and take a break. If you want to talk, I'd like to listen," end quote. He said, quote, "I don't know what I want, and I don't know how I should feel. I am empty inside. But I am not the one who is dying," end quote. I said, quote, "Please come and have just one cup with me," end quote. "Okay," he said, "my mother will be all right for a little while," end quote. We poured ourselves the coffee and sat down. He was exhausted, almost too tired to think or speak. He didn't know what to do next. I felt so sorry for him. It was an awkward time for me because I didn't know what to say, and I didn't want to upset him even more. He continued to stare into his coffee cup, twirling his spoon around and around. I said, quote, "Your mother isn't in any pain and is comfortable. Hospice is about the quality of life, and she is having that here. I think that you've been a very loving and devoted son," end quote. He said, wait to hear this now, and you think you've got problems. He said, quote, "It's been a year from hell. My dad passed away 13 months ago from a massive heart attack. He died in my arms. I moved back home to help my mother out. Now, 1 year later, I must say goodbye to her. I don't think that I'll ever feel good again. I can't remember ever having fun or laughing. I don't feel anything but sorrow, and I am trapped in a life I wish never existed. It's got to be one of you out there who's feeling this, end quote. He finished his coffee and excused himself. He went back to check on his mother. I said that I would be here for a couple of hours and would say goodnight before I left. About an hour later, he came over and he tapped me on the shoulder. He said, quote, "Mom is all right. Could I tell you what happened to me this past year? I don't know why I'm being tested this way. Why had these things happened?" End quote. I said, quote, "I don't know why anything happens anymore. And I stopped asking the why questions a long time ago. Remember I said, stop asking why me and start asking why not. You were not chosen to go through a life of luxury and laughter and ice cream and pizza. No, you're brought here to live your life, do your life, and give to your life. I don't know," I said, "why anything happens anymore, and I stopped asking the why questions a long time ago. I'd like to hear your story. Maybe talking about it will make you feel better." End quote. He said, "Dad had a massive heart attack and died instantly. About 3 months later, my wife of 22 years, we got to go over this." He said, quote, "My dad had a massive heart attack and died instantly." Remember I said his dad died in his arms? About 3 months later, his wife of 22 years, he said, "My wife of 22 years divorced me and ran off with my best friend." That's happened to a lot of you. 3 months after that, the company I worked for filed Chapter 11 and I got laid off. All right, his father dies in his arms. 3 months later, the wife takes off with his best friend. Then, a month or so later, his company lays him off. That's kind of a lot to deal with at one time. Our coping mechanisms are not really equipped for all this. 3 months later, the company filed for Chapter 11 and I got laid off. My mother developed pancreatic cancer and now I'm taking care of her, end quote. He blurted all this information out in two sentences. He never paused or hesitated. He was like an actor reading lines from a script written especially for him. But it was what happened next that surprised me. Once he heard his own story, he started to laugh. He was laughing so hard that I started to laugh along with him. We couldn't control ourselves. See, that's what happens with emotions also. You've been there at times when laughter has turned to tears or tears has turned to laughter. This man blurted out about his father passing away from a massive heart attack in his arms. Then his wife of 22 years takes off with his best friend and divorces him. Then he finds out his company's laying him off. Then his mother develops pancreatic cancer. I'm telling you, he spit it out in 2 sentences. And he started to laugh. And I was laughing with him. We both couldn't control ourselves. He finally said, quote, "See, if you think these stories are sad, honey, you're all wrong. You're all wrong." He finally said, quote, "I needed that. I don't remember the last time I felt good or laughed or even felt alive. As I was telling you about the past year, it sounded so ridiculous that I didn't think I was talking about myself." You got to tune into this one and tell a friend. This one's so good. They're all so good. I think I was pushing my books to sell. No, I want a series. I want a Netflix series. My vision boards are all over the house. I want a Netflix series or Hulu. I want my book made into a series. My friends are so sick of hearing about that. And I want all these stories made into series and shows. And people need to know that life is real, but they don't have to be down where they want to go nuts. They need to have hope and faith. There's no hope and faith and courage, and they give you that little bitty 30-second thing at the end to feel good something when 9/10 of your news is all despair and horror. Then at the very end they give you just this little bit of somebody doing something good. That's sick. We got to turn it all around. So all I cared about was my mother. I wanted her to be comfortable and out of pain. If I'm being tested, I think that I failed. I know I used to be happy. I had energy and, quote, spunk, as my parents called it. Where did all the laughter go? Has it all been replaced with pain and sorrow? Do you think that I will ever feel alive again or be happy? I don't have the energy and I'm not motivated to do anything. I'm not dead, but I feel that way inside, end quote. I said, remember 2 minutes ago we were laughing our heads off. Quote, I said, my husband died 4 years ago after a long illness. I understand everything you have said to me. I felt the same way and questioned the same things. I was so emotionally drained and exhausted that I couldn't think anymore. As I watched my life play out in total chaos, I had no plan for the future. I didn't want a future. Then slowly, one day at a time, the pain and sadness got a little easier to bear. One day I smiled, and I meant it. I woke up one morning because I wanted to. Hi, Elaine. I woke up one morning because I wanted to. One day I started to feel all right again, and you will too. You will be stronger than you were before because you have given your mother the greatest gift of all. You were there at her side when she needed you the most. You gave of yourself, and you gave it from your heart. We talked a little longer, then said goodnight. He went back to be with his mother, and I went home. His mother passed away during the night with her son at her side. When I got home, I couldn't get his words out of my mind. Was it hypocritical of me to try and reassure him that one day he would be all right when I was frightened to death about my own condition? Maybe the answer was yes, or maybe it was no. I told him how I felt about what he was going through. He cared deeply for his mother and did what he had to do when it truly mattered. Then I flashed back and realized that the story reminded me of a test you gave to a group of students at one of your psychology seminars. You asked everyone in the class to list in order the importance of what needs they felt were their strongest. The needs mentioned were fun. Write these down. My husband was an incredible psychologist. If he had been alive now, I'd be living in Italy. He'd be the one on CNN, and I'd be in a villa on the Mediterranean. But here he is. Then I flashed back. All right, we got the son underway. He's going to be fine. Mommy passed. Then I flashed back and realized the story reminded me of a test you gave to a group of students at one of your psychology seminars. Write this down, folks, please. You asked everyone, I'm giving you a seminar that he charged $250 for. You asked everyone, maybe more, because the oil companies were probably paying for it. You asked everyone in the class to list in order the importance, what needs they felt were their strongest. The needs mentioned were fun, freedom, power, and recognition. I think today's news has a little bit of the power and recognition need up there. Remember, fun, freedom, power, and recognition. We got those down? Here's your lesson for the day. Mull it over the weekend. There were many questions, and they had different scenarios and outcomes. There weren't any right or wrong answers or points to score. It was just a generic evaluation that caused one to reflect on what they felt were their priorities in life. I love doing this. I don't care if nobody watches. I have to do this. This is good for me today. What were your priorities? What would be your priorities in life? Then we thought that it would be fun to take the test ourselves. I was always right up there in the front of the class anyway. He's always used me as his little icebreaker. Then we thought that it would be fun to take the test ourselves. When it was over, both of us listed freedom first, fun second, recognition third, and power last. That's it. That was the way it was. First, freedom. You got nothing if you can't make a choice. Freedom. I didn't ever want to go to school. I didn't want to have to work. He and I were lousy students. I don't know how he got through school except he had me. Freedom. Fun. We wanted to have fun. He wanted to have fun a lot more than I did because I was more into the money, but he wanted to have fun. But those were our needs. We both scored the same way. Recognition and power, not there. There weren't any right or wrong answers, so don't give yourself any right or wrong answers. This is just a thing for you to process. I'm giving you a free psychological evaluation of yourself. Fun, freedom, power, and recognition. There weren't many questions, and they had different scenarios and outcomes. There were many questions. There weren't any right or wrong answers or points to score. It was just a generic evaluation that caused one to reflect on what they felt were their priorities in life. Then we thought it would be fun to take the test ourselves. He always gave me all this stuff first. When it was over, both of us listed freedom first, fun second, recognition third, power last. Oh, how we laughed for days about how freedom and fun were our best qualities and also our worst. Yes, we required a lot of both. I miss our fun. I miss our fun, the laughter, and I will always miss us. I'll say so long for a little while. I love you, Susan. Is this not great? Tell me about it. Is this not great? Is this not? Anybody who's not into this, I'm telling you, just wait one day. I am so happy. Today was a day that it's storming outside. This is great, quite an outfit, isn't it? The old bag lady. It was so stormy again outside, and I just said, I don't want to read. I want to stay in bed and just watch the horrible news about power and recognition. And then I said, no, Susan, you have an assignment. You have been assigned to read these stories because you don't know who needs them. So, that's what I did. I might take a little break Saturday and Sunday because I do have a couple things that must be taken care of. Oh, and by the way, that large tumor that was growing inside my stomach on my liver, they don't want to touch it. That was years and years and years ago. But a funny part of it is, it's called a hematoma or something else. I don't know. After all this, it's fine. But I was bodybuilding, weight training. I wanted to take boxing classes. I was always into judo and all that. So I was all ready to sign up for boxing. I thought that would be a wonderful thing to do. Well, the doctor, I'm 1 week away from starting boxing, kickboxing, whatever it was. And the doctor proceeds to tell me that because of where it's located on my liver, he would not want me to do anything that would cause my liver to be impaled, abused, kicked, socked, knocked around. Obvious reasons, I would bleed to death. Consequently, I called my instructor and said, I'm going to have to cancel because if I'm kicked in the stomach or in the liver, I probably will die. Didn't do that. Kept bodybuilding for a long time, but I didn't have anybody throw any weights at my liver. Cut yourself some slack. Thank you, Elaine, for watching. You've been there the whole time. You deserve some fun and freedom. And for all of the other ones who come on whenever you do, make today a good day. And I thank you all for going back and reading through my book, Committed to Love, A Woman's Journey Through Love and Loss. And we're only on chapter 6. We've got some great stories ahead. This is not a woman who looks sad. I may be, but I'm not going to look it. So I'll say shalom, hello, shalom, goodbye, and shalom, peace. We need peace. Be kind. Be more patient. I don't think there's a word called patienter. And call someone and tell them you care. I'm calling all of you right now and telling you I care. I'm just not doing it on a regular phone, but I'm telling every one of you here, love your life. You will get through it. Get yourself out of your head. Write your stuff out. Volunteer. Think about others. And think about all the people who went through the last few years, the suffering they went through. I always say I had my Jeffrey in the house. I was able to care for him. He never knew a day he wasn't. My parents, I was with them. I feel very badly for so many people who lost their parents and their family with this pandemic. But will you go on one day and smile? You bet. Will you laugh? Yes. Will you have fun again? Oh, yes, you will. It'll just be different. And that's what this heart of mine will never heal. No one can heal that one spot in here. No one will ever take that and get that healed. I'm not a wound that can be sutured. It'll always be a little void. But have I gone through it and changed? Mm-hmm. Is every holiday different? Yes. Is every birthday different? Yes. Do new wonderful people come into your life? Yes. Don't give up on yourselves. God bless you all. I bid you a good Shabbos to my Jewish sisters and brothers, and thank you so much for telling my stories to others. I'll hit finish.